Hello, cherished viewers. Once again, I welcome you to another episode on Beyond the Pitch. Today, we are having a discussion with a statesman who's had such an eventful life and a rich resume. He has been into sports, politics, education, and he's been at the war front in the Second World War. You might come across the household name Joachim Awuley, popularly known as. Over to you, Joe Lartey. Welcome, sir, on our program.
Thank you very much for asking me to come on your program.
But before we start our discussion, let's take a break.
Lartey was born on 6th June 1927 at Lutheran Street in Accra. He joined the British Navy after school and he was sent to Freetown, Sierra Leone for further training. In 1945, the war had ended and his group was demobilized in 1946. Lartey's first job as a clerk at the Accra Timber Council was short-lived, working under the town clerk Major McDougall. He then pursued a course on his own with Moseley Hall to prepare for Cambridge Certificate O-Level. There was a special resettlement package for those discharged from the British Navy, as part of which Lartey was given a scholarship to train as a teacher. He did the Certificate B at Winneba Training College, passing out after 2 years. Because of the Cambridge certificate he obtained from Wolseley Hall, he was able to do his post-certificate training at Wesley College, Kumasi. He spent 5 years teaching at Latte, Kwanyako, Swedru, Nyakrom and Accra until 1961. He joined GBC in 1961 following a recommendation from an old mate from the Accra Academy, Boso Koponu, who was the head of research at GCB. He spent 2 years at the Talks and Features department before being sent to the sports department on relieving duties. Festus Adai, another celebrated commentator who headed the department, refused to let Lartey go back to the Talks and Features department. Lartey flourished as a commentator in the sports department. He and Adai handled commentary together, and this was the phrase "over to you, Joe Lartey," becoming popular. Anytime Adai was handing over to Lartey, he would use that expression. Lartey was also involved in trade unionism while at GBC. He was Divisional Secretary of the Public Service Workers Union for 6 years, directly working under Kwesi Pratt Sr., the General Secretary and father of Kwesi Pratt Jr. Lartey left the GBC in 1973 and joined the Food Distribution Corporation the same year as the public relations practitioner, but he left in 1978 to go into private business. During the era of the Supreme Military Council, Ghana, he was involved in the activities of the People's Movement for Freedom and Justice, PMFJ, that opposed Unigov under General Ignatius Kutuwa Champong, working in the trenches with Nana Akufo-Addo, Komla Agbeli, Bedema, and others. He moved to Lagos, Nigeria when the leaders of the movement were being pursued and stayed there until 1990. During his 12-year spell at Radio Nigeria, officially known as the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, Lartey worked with Ishola Folúṣọ̀rọ̀, the ace Nigerian commentator who was well known in Ghana and also a good friend of his, aside handling some programs where he had the opportunity to train young Nigerian broadcasters in public speaking and public relations, which were key in broadcasting. On his return in 1990, he hosted programs such as Sports Digest and Hall of Fame on GTV while teaching public speaking to various groups. He was the first president of the Sports Writers Association of Ghana, SWAG, of which he is currently a patron. Today, Lartey still teaches presentation at the Accra Film School. Over to you, Radio and TV Sports Broadcast Excellence is an award ceremony named in his honor for his service in sports broadcast and journalism.
Welcome back from the break. Now let's go into our discussion for the day. Over to you, Joe Lartey. Growing up, you used to listen to war speeches at that tender age. What was the reason behind that?
Well, it was just a matter of interest. My most senior brother was somebody who was very keen on speech making.
Okay.
And because of speech making, he liked to listen to Winston Churchill,
Okay.
who was a very experienced speaker. And he used his tongue to galvanize the British people to win the last war, the Second World War. So he was on radio most of the time. Then we didn't have FM. We had only SW,
Okay.
shortwave. And he was broadcasting all the time to his people, that is the British people, then the Commonwealth of Nations, the British Commonwealth, and also to the world.
Okay.
And we used to listen to his speeches here. And my brother, my most senior brother, introduced me to this, and I became interested in his speeches.
Okay.
I committed some of them to memory. I still remember a lot of them. But that's that. That's how I became interested.
Okay.
At a very tender age, at the
Yeah.
age of 10.
10.
At the age of 10 years, my brother made me memorize a speech made by Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln.
The speech was delivered at the Gettysburg Cemetery after the American Civil War. And they were going to honor the special cemetery for those who lost their lives. He made a speech. And my brother made me memorize the first paragraph of that speech. Very interesting. So and it has continued up to now.
Up to now. And do you still remember the one you said about?
Yeah,
Abraham
I
Lincoln?
remember. He said, and I quote,
Okay.
70 years ago, our fathers brought forth upon this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Unquote. I remember, I learned this when I was 10 years.
10 years.
And I didn't understand the whole thing, but I knew I could recite it over and over again. It was later in my life when I followed my interest in public speaking
Public speaking. Okay.
that I got to understand it. I got the whole speech. And it's still, it's tucked in my head.
What made you go into public speaking?
But
What made you go into public speaking?
yeah, because of my interest.
Your interest.
My father was what in those days they called them local preacher.
Local preacher.
Yeah, he wasn't a professional priest, but occasionally he took the pulpit at church and preached.
Okay.
These days they have a name, but he was called a local preacher,
The local preacher.
and he was good at making these sermons. I remember the young men in Corlegon.
Okay.
They used to come along with notebooks and so on to write down some of the things that he said. So, and my mother was also a leader of the Methodist Church, one of the leaders of the Methodist Church.
Okay.
So speech was around me all the time, and right from my very, very beginning, I loved talking.
You love
So
to
my
talk.
grandmother, every time I was with my friends, I was talking.
Oh, okay.
So my grandmother named me Awuley Okasafuo talker,
Awuley Okasafo.
and it has remained.
Oh, okay. Okay, now let's go into the time you worked with the Accra Town Council.
Oh, town council.
Yes.
I worked with what is now AMA.
AMA, okay.
Yeah. After I joined the British Navy at the age of 16,
16.
very tender age, and I was taken to Freetown, Sierra Leone.
So it means that you joined the Navy before you came back, when you returned, before you joined the Town Council.
Oh yes, it was when, after the war, those of us who enlisted in the Navy, the Army, the Air Force,
Okay.
the government of our countries had to settle us.
Okay.
They would call it resettlement.
Okay.
They had to settle us. That was why we had the shooting at the crossroads,
Okay.
at the Osu crossroads.
Crossroads.
Because the government of the day at that time was not paying attention to giving us jobs.
Okay.
And so we decided to send a petition to the governor at the castle, inviting him to pay attention to the ex-servicemen. Most of them, all of us, were not employed at the time. So it was after the shooting that arrangements were made for resettlement of ex-servicemen.
Okay.
And I was settled. I was given a job as a clerk.
Now you left Accra Academy to join the Navy.
The Navy.
What happened? Because you were in school, but you were part of those who joined the Second World War. What really happened?
Well, my interest in going to war,
Wow.
I was reading, there was a publication called Picture Post.
Picture post.
It was a magazine, a weekly magazine. And it showed a lot of pictures of the war, or from the war, from the various theaters of war, from the sea, land, and air.
Okay.
And these were interesting. I was fired, I wanted adventure.
Wow.
I wanted to.
You were not scared?
I wasn't scared.
You were ready to die for...
The truth is, I did not understand war.
Okay.
I did not know exactly what happened to people who went to war. So I left Accra Academy and joined the British Navy at Takoradi.
Okay.
I think they still have a base there, a small, very small base. But I joined the British Navy at Takoradi, and then we were drafted from Takoradi to Sierra Leone, to Freetown, where they have a bigger establishment, naval establishment. There was a place called King Tom. King Tom was a training establishment. So we went there and we were trained. We were trained in various aspects. I joined the supply department of the Navy. We were in charge of providing food, clothing, and so on for the sailors. I was a supplier.
Oh, okay.
And we were trained at Freetown. And from Freetown, we went to a place called Kisi, also in Freetown, Kisi Barracks. And so, I did the 3-year service, and when the war ended, we were demobilized.
Okay, what was the experience during the war? What was the experience in the Second World War?
My experience?
Yes.
Oh, varied experience. Very many and varied.
Share with us.
We had experience in the barracks.
Okay.
Then experience at sea.
Okay.
The greatest experience I went through was when the ship on which I was serving was hit at sea, thousands of miles from Monrovia.
Oh.
And the ship was called HMS, that is His Majesty's Service, HMS Kilkenzie. Just roughly about 2 weeks ago, my son, who is in America, was able to get the picture of that ship.
Wow.
From the internet.
Wow.
And he sent it to me. I have it on my phone. Okay. Interesting. HMS Kilkenzie. This ship was hit at sea, and we were thrown into the sea.
Whoa.
Yeah, we were thrown into the sea for 4 days. 4 days we were on the open sea, bobbing, and it was terrible. But somehow we were saved and taken to. We were taken to one naval base. It was. I don't know. It's not an experience I like to remember.
You like to remember,
yeah. But it happened.
It happened.
And at the end of the war, we were demobilized.
Okay.
And we came home, and we had to be given jobs.
Okay.
Well, in the case of those of us who were from Gold Coast, we had to be given jobs by the Gold Coast government.
The Gold Coast government.
And
who was in charge then?
Of
the Gold Coast government. The Gold Coast government.
The governor at the time was Crazy. Governor Crazy.
Crazy. Okay.
But he had a very short period.
Okay.
Because during his time, we had all these disturbances and so on. And apparently he wasn't too good.
Okay.
So they recalled him to his place.
Okay.
And after the disturbances, they set up the Watson Commission. And that's where we had the Big Six.
Okay.
The Big Six were arrested. They suspected that the march that we made, marching to the castle to demand jobs, the colonial government thought it was instigated by the politicians.
Wow.
So they arrested all of them, the Big Six. The
Big Six.
Led by Kwame Nkrumah.
Okay.
The most important person at the time was J.B. Dankwa.
J.B. Dankwa.
Yeah. In fact, history has it that he had a very deep connection with the formation of the UCC,
UGCC.
you know, J.B. Dankwa. And they invited Kwame Nkrumah to the country.
Okay.
But Kwame Nkrumah was more radical.
Radical.
You know, he was more radical. These other people, J.B. Dankwa, Oforiatta and others, practicing lawyers, Akwaji and so on, they were all practicing lawyers. They were more gentle. They wanted their self-government as soon as possible or at the earliest time. Kwame Nkrumah came, he was asking for self-government now.
Okay.
You know, that made all the difference. And then the UGCC broke up. We had the formation of the CPP, which was very radical, led by Kwame Nkrumah. And that's where we are now. Yeah.
So your take on the UGCC and CPP, you had a chance to witness what really went on.
Oh yes, why not? We were very keen young people. Were following Kwame Nkrumah all over the place. You know? And
you believed in Kwame Nkrumah at that time?
Well, at the time we did, but when the split occurred, some of us went on this. We didn't like the radicality of the CPP.
Okay.
So some of us went.
What were some of the things you didn't like?
Well, I mean, they were preaching strikes and disorders and so on, things like that. We wanted to be on the gentle side. Very interesting, isn't it?
Very.
We did a whole, I remember we were putting up posters. We were writing inflammatory announcements and speeches, extracts from speeches, and pasting them on walls in Accra to inspire people to do things. You know, I remember that very well. I remember.
So you did that for CPP?
What?
You did that for CPP?
No, not then we were the the
UGCC.
UGCC.
Okay.
The CPP hadn't come. The CPP came later. In Salt Point, when they held a delegates conference in Salt Point, and Kwame Nkrumah resigned from the. Very interesting. If I want to talk, I'll talk to you tomorrow morning. Yeah.
So after that time, you believed in the self-government, that now we need the independence now.
I mean, we were very young. We didn't understand a lot of the implications.
Okay.
But we felt we needed self-government. The politicians told us we needed self-government, and we understood it. You see, so we followed what they told us.
Okay. Okay.
I think when Kwame Nkrumah came to Ghana, I was 20 years old. I was teaching. I was a pupil teacher. When he came, and he came with. He used to wear a jacket, which came down here. We call it zuti. Zuti jacket.
Oh, okay. Now let's talk about Accra Town Council. Yeah. After you left the Navy, you joined the Accra Town Council.
Yeah.
Okay. Take us through your experience.
Yeah, and the head of the place was one Major McDougall.
Yeah.
Escort. Who was also an ex-soldier. He was given a job. He was heading ATC, Accra Town Council. And I was a correspondence clerk. Okay. I was given a job as a correspondence clerk.
Okay.
I was writing dispatches and so on for the council. I did that for I think a year. And then government came out with another resettlement project.
Okay.
They recruited 200 ex-servicemen to train as teachers. And I was one of them. I was one of the people who was recruited.
And within that 5 years, you taught in 5 schools?
Oh, well, no, not 5 schools. This was after my training.
Your training?
Yeah. Okay. For the first part, I taught as a pupil teacher for 2 years.
Okay.
That was part of a scheme. You had to teach for 2 years and then go to a training college. So I taught for 2 years, less than 2 years.
2 years.
I should have done 2 years, but I taught for less than 2 years, and I was given a chance to go to a training college at Winneba. They started a new training college at Winneba, and I was one of the people who went there to start with, pioneers. You know. We did 2 years and over, and then went to teach for 5 years you had to teach for 5 years.
Wow.
You teach for 2 years in the first instance, and you are given a teacher's certificate B.
B.
And then you teach for 5 years. And then you go to another training college. I went to Wesley College and trained for another 2 years. At the end of it, I was given teacher's certificate A.
A. Okay.
Post-secondary, because I did the what they call it, GCE.
GCE.
During the 5 years of teaching, I did a GCE. So I went to Wesley College and did 2 years for certificate A, post-secondary.
Okay.
That's how it happened.
Okay. Now, after teaching for 5 years, you left to GBC.
Well, it was after my training.
Your training?
And teaching after training in Wesley College. I was teaching. I left Wesley College in 1958.
1958, okay.
Then I taught 59, 60, 61, 59, 60. 61, I joined GBC.
GBC, okay.
You know, and I joined GBC not as a commentator. I joined GBC as, you know, a programs man, you know.
Okay,
just
so
as a program man.
you joined GBC and you were in.
I was doing talks and features.
Okay.
I was drafted to the talks and features department.
Talks and features department.
But somebody took ill
Okay.
at the sports department, and I was asked to go on relieving duties.
Okay.
And the head of the department thought I was good for that department, so I shouldn't go back. And there was a long drawn argument between the head of the sports department and the program.
But they didn't want to lose you. Because
Well, that's what. And so eventually, I was allowed to remain at the sports department.
Okay.
And you know, my parents did not allow me to do sports.
You wanted to?
I did not know much about sports.
Sports. Okay.
But when I joined the department, I had to learn. I had to learn sports.
Okay.
As you learn geography or mathematics, I had to learn it to be able to stay in the sports department. Eventually, I was doing commentary, you know, now and
So
again.
the sports department, you went straight into commentary.
Yes, commentary was part of the activities of the
But
department.
what were some of the other activities apart from the commentary?
Producing programs.
Okay.
We had a program called Spotlight on Sport.
Spotlight on sports.
And then we had one sports preview.
Okay.
Then we had a discussion program, and so on. And in addition to covering state events like the arrival of important people in the country, the celebration of Independence Day parade, any of the big conferences that were held in those days, the activities of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, it was our duty to cover them. So we did. It was a very busy department.
Now the famous Over to You Joe Lartey became iconic. I mean, its service in the sports world. How did it all come by?
Over to You developed. It developed.
Okay.
I had a head of department called Festus Adai.
First of that.
He was the man in charge of the sports department.
Okay.
And when I started doing commentaries, he and I used to be on commentary activities most of the time.
Okay.
There were so many activities in those days. And each time we did comment, he would lead.
Okay.
He would lead in the commentary. Then when he finished his bit, he would hand over to me.
So you were doing more for the summary?
Well, not summary as such, but that was summary for football.
Yeah.
But let's say the commissioning of Temahaba, for instance.
Okay.
Festus did the important part of it because he was more experienced.
Okay.
So after he had done his bit, he would say, "Over to you, Joe."
Oh, okay.
Then I would say, "Thank you, Festus." And because there were so many of these activities which we were covering, this expression, "Over to you, thank you," is stuck in the minds of people.
Okay.
And eventually they gave it to me as a sobriquet, as a nickname.
A nickname. Over to you.
Yeah, over to you.
Now, you left GBC. You left GBC to join. After you left GBC, have you had a chance to train other people in this area? I mean, commentary.
Yes, I've done a lot of training for people. You know, I wrote notes and so on for them, and the training took place at the training school of GBC. Most of them. I did a few training sessions outside GBC, but I've had the chance, the opportunity to help people do commentary.
Okay.
And I'm still ready to train, to give, because I have the notes.
Oh, okay.
No, I haven't seen, for the whole time that I've been with GBC and outside, I've not seen any textbook on commentary.
On commentary?
There's none. But I've been able to put together a number of notes which could be used by those who want to.
Are you ready to publish it?
Oh yes, why not?
Okay. So when should we expect that?
Well, let's see what the future holds.
The future holds. Okay. Now, after some time, you joined the trade. After some time, you joined the trade unionism, where you worked with Kwesi Pratt Senior.
Yeah.
What was the relationship?
When I joined GBC, at the time, I found that there were so many problems for staff.
Okay.
A lot of problems. Things were not quite smooth. So I was forced as a senior officer. In those days, senior officers were not allowed to join the trade union system.
Okay.
But I was forced, and I joined the trade union thing in GBC, and I became a secretary for the division, what we call a division. We have what we known as the Public Services Workers Union of the TUC.
Okay.
And GBC is a division of the Public Services Workers Union. I joined the division, the GBC division, and our general secretary was Kwesi Pratt's father.
Okay.
He was a perfect gentleman, not like the son. The son is radical, but this man, Kwesi Pratt's father, was a very quiet person, very, very quiet. And he taught me the things that I know about trade unionism today.
Because he was already into it before you joined?
Who?
Kwesi Pratt Senior was already into the trade unionism before you joined?
Kwesi Pratt?
Senior?
Yeah.
Was already
Oh yes, he was the general secretary of the Public Services Workers Union. And GBC was a division of the Public Services Workers Union.
Okay.
So Kwesi Pratt, Senior Kwesi Pratt, was a very important person at that time. And as I said, he was very gentle, very quiet. He didn't appear radical.
Radical.
As the son appears now. The son has done a whole lot of things in politics and so on.
Okay, so in your own view, how would you describe Kwesi Pratt Senior?
Junior?
Yeah, senior.
A senior?
Yeah.
Well, he was a very effective leader. As general secretary of a union, you are in the position of a leader.
Okay.
And your effectiveness is determined by the things that you did. Under Kwesi Pratt's senior, I joined. I was selected to go to UK.
Okay.
At the invitation of the British trade union thing.
Okay.
I remember that very well. It was then the general secretary for the whole of Ghana TUC was a man called B.A. Bentum. People have forgotten it. He used to live here, live around here.
Oh, okay.
B.A. Bentum. So I went to UK to see how the trade union movement works there. With other people. I wasn't alone.
Okay. Have you been into sports for some time, for field over 20 years? How would you compare? How would you see our current sports industry?
Oh, well, with the recent coming of the pandemic, sports practice has withered.
Okay.
It's not like what it used to be. sport, when you talk about sport in Ghana, you should be looking at amateur sports,
Okay.
non-professional, and then you look at professional sport.
Professionals.
So far, sport in Ghana hasn't reached serious professional level yet. And I think we should be aiming at reaching there. But I think for the amateur level, we did very well under the Kwame Nkrumah government.
Okay.
We did very, very well. That was the time when they set up the Sports Council under Ohinijan, who was a very good leader, although he had his problems like everybody else. And we scored a lot of successes under Ohinijan.
Okay.
Then Ohinijan left. There was a 1966 coup, which brought another government. I mean, Nkrumah had to be overthrown.
Okay.
And during that period, the thing went down a bit. You see, under Ohinijan, sports in Ghana was following the pattern adopted in the USSR.
Okay.
You know, you find that they have a socialist pattern.
Okay.
Socialist. Government was in charge of the organization of sport. But outside the USSR, sport was practiced as people who liked to do sports, not the state.
Okay.
The state did not organize sports.
Okay.
But under the USSR, the state was in charge of sports. And we tried for a long time to follow that pattern. We tried to follow the Eastern pattern of sports organization under Ohinijan. So we made a lot of success. I mean, people were doing sport as if it was their job, that was their profession, you know. And they were recruited into the Farmers Council and all that, given jobs, and they were practicing sports. That was a different thing altogether. And looking back, somehow it worked, but it wasn't very good. And now we have amateur sports. People are not professional. Professional football hasn't developed much. It's still very slow coming up. I think we have a long way to go.
Have a long way to go.
What we should do, we should enter into a period of reorganization.
Reorganization.
To reorganize sport. Organize the whole thing. The various groups, let's say the boxing, athletics, weightlifting, all of that, they should be properly organized.
Okay.
And I believe we have the talent.
We have the talent.
Yeah, if we organize properly, we should be able to do very well.
Now let's talk politics. You were involved in the activities of the People's Movement for Freedom and Justice.
Yeah.
That opposed the Kutuwe Champon's government.
That's right.
What was it all about?
Kwame, General Achampo wanted to introduce a system of government. A system of government which comprised civilians and military. That's why he came up with a concept called union government. Union government. Civilian and military running the country. Okay. And some of us thought that wasn't right. It wasn't sufficiently democratic.
Okay.
So the late General Afrifa established a movement called the People's Movement for Freedom and Justice. And I joined that movement.
Okay. You joined with His Excellency Nanado.
I joined the movement. Nanado was already part of it when I joined.
Okay. So you went to meet him.
Man, very young.
Very, very young.
Yeah,
man.
and there was one guy in Accra who was known as General. He was known as Mr. No.
Mr. Do.
His name was G.W. Abatefiu. G.W. Abatefiu was almost a leader.
Okay.
Side by side with Afrifa.
Okay.
we were holding meetings and so on. In fact, our secretariat was in his office
Okay.
on Farah Avenue. I don't know whether you know Hotel President, that area. There's a place there where we were holding our meetings. And his death, Nana Akufo-Addo was one of us.
Okay.
You know, and I was the publicity secretary with a chap called BJ Darocha. I was working with Darocha. We were producing a weekly tract called The Voice of the People. You know, these things went on and on and on. So,
but before we move on, how would you describe the then Akufo-Addo?
oh, he was a very forward-looking, very active. You know, he enjoyed politics.
Okay.
I think the thing is politics in the family. They started. His father was a politician, was a judge, but they were the people who were fighting for self-government for us.
Okay.
B6 was one of them. You know,
Okay.
so the thing was in his blood, and we were recruiting young people, students, to go into the hinterland and talk to the farmers, and it was very active. And he was there,
Okay.
and I was there.
Okay.
You know, I was the That's why after, a referendum was held. The referendum was intended to find out whether Ghanaians liked union government or not.
Okay.
And the referendum came out with a verdict that we prefer democratic government to union government.
Union government.
So General Achampo ordered that those of us who were in the leadership of the people's movement should be arrested.
Wow.
And they started arresting us. Fortunately for me, somebody gave me a lowdown
Okay.
that I was to be arrested on the Saturday morning at dawn. So I left my home on a Friday, and on Tuesday the following week, I left Ghana under cover of darkness for Nigeria. And I was in Nigeria.
But did you inform your team that this is what?
No, we were scattered. How could
Okay.
I was in Dansoman. Others were somewhere else. Others were. A lot of them were arrested
Okay.
and detained.
Okay.
But I was lucky to get out with others. Not, I wasn't the only one. A lot of some of the people got out. Yeah. So I went to Nigeria as an exile.
Okay.
But I had friends in Nigeria because of sport.
Who helped you out?
I won't tell you.
Oh, please. It's past now. Probably you could share
The
with
man
us.
is dead.
The man is dead.
Yeah.
Then. But who was
He
that?
was a senior officer in the police department.
Okay.
You see, but what happened was this. There was a woman in GBC who was a beautician. You know the beautician. Before you go to the studio, you go to
they
make
make you up.
Yeah. There was a woman there. The woman is still alive.
Okay. Who's that?
She, a sister of hers.
Over to you, Joe Lartey.
A sister of hers was married to a senior police officer.
Okay.
So she said one evening she went to visit the sister. And so when he got to the place, the sister asked, look, is Joe Lartey, is he around? And so he said, come on. So she took the sister upstairs and showed her a list of people to be arrested the following day. It was a Friday. I was going to be picked at dawn on Saturday. So when this lady came home, she sent for me and gave me the information. So I left my house and went into hiding. And I left Ghana on a Tuesday, following week Tuesday, in the middle of the night. You know, crossed the border into Togo. I was in Togo for a few days, and from after I went to Nigeria. And I went to Nigeria in the middle of the night. But the following day, I paid a visit to GBC, to the Nigerian Broadcasting Station. I have a friend there called Ishola Folonsho. Ishola Folonsho was the leading commentator in the place. And he was head of So he gave me a job. I started working the following day.
The following day, when
Yeah.
you went to
I
Nigeria,
went to Nigeria. It was a very interesting episode.
you did 12 years in Nigeria doing radio and teaching. What was the difference between what we had in Ghana and then when you were in Nigeria?
The same thing.
No difference.
No difference.
Okay.
We were doing the coverage of sports.
Okay.
The same. And they were doing commentaries as well on state functions.
Okay.
Ceremonial commentary. And we were doing ceremonial commentary here.
Okay.
So it wasn't difficult for me to settle down.
Okay. Now let me ask you this on politics. Are you fulfilled that you were part of people who fought for the rights of their citizens?
Yes, why not? Why not? I should be proud, and I'm proud of it. Those who know it, they're not when they say it, they call me old man.
Hey.
At one stage, I was vice chairman of Okakwe constituency of the then we call it Progress Party.
PPA.
Then the chairman was a man called Carl Randolph.
Okay.
He's dead. They're all dead. So a whole lot of things have happened.
Okay, now let's talk about your family.
Yeah.
How did you meet your wife?
And
How did you meet your wife?
I met my wife when she was a teacher. When I was teaching.
Okay.
I was transferred to Latte, and I was teaching at Latte. And at the end of the year, I think the year was 1949. At the end of that year, there was a teachers' party, which I attended, and my wife also attended. I didn't know her, but I saw her as a young lady, very attractive. And I asked her for a dance.
Okay.
We went to the floor, we danced once, we danced twice. By the time we done the third dance, we had come to like each other. And that's how it started. And we've been married now for 71 years.
71 years.
Yeah.
How do you keep it going? Because
Well, marriage.
Because she's been very supportive all these years.
Yeah, she's been supportive. I've had I've strayed a bit into other marriages.
Oh, okay.
But she's been patient.
Patient with you.
And I have her children and my children and other children and so on.
How many children do you have?
I always keep that secret. Yeah, I don't tell people how many children. I have a lot of children. Yeah. And they are very good children, very supportive children. Yeah, very supportive.
Okay. Now let's talk about music. What's your favorite music? Your favorite music?
There's a music that still goes on, but it's not popular. People don't hear it these days. It's called Calypso.
Calypso.
You know Calypso?
No, I don't.
I'll give you an example of Calypso. London is the place for me. London is the place for me. There was a man who was the leading exponent of Calypso. He was called, the name came but it's gone. Lord Kitchener.
Lord Kitchener.
Yeah. Okay. There were the Lord Kitchener and Lord Beginner, the two of them. They were at the time the chief exponents of Calypso.
Calypso, okay.
You know, and he made that song. He made a song in commemoration of our independence. This day will never be forgotten. The 6th of March 1957, when the Gold Coast successfully achieved the freedom officially. Ghana is the name. Ghana. We wish to proclaim. We will be jolly, merry, and gay. You get it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a Calypso song.
Oh, okay.
Made to commemorate independence of Ghana.
Oh, okay.
You know, and it was sung by Lord Kitchener.
Lord Kitchener.
Yeah.
Okay. Now your all-time favorite sports personality
Today,
today?
I can't remember anybody.
Anybody?
There was a time I was backing Agbeko, that young man.
The boxer.
Yeah, but I think uh, he was beaten the other day. Has he come back?
No, he's still, but he's training.
He's training.
Yeah, he's still training.
I saw a bit of him in the program by Boku Banku last night. Who saw the program? I saw Beko, I think part of the program was, they showed some of his training activities.
Okay, and your best commentator and journalist so far? I mean, now you are retired, so you just enjoy.
I'm a retired man. I'm not, you know, that we talk about something called unretirement.
Unretirement.
Unretirement. There's a book on it. Unretirement. I have retired, but not entirely.
Entirely.
What I'm doing is part of, you know, is I'm somebody who practices unretirement. Whatever talent I have, even in retirement, I'm using it.
You're using it.
And it's okay. I was able to, I founded a speakers club
A speakers club.
in Ghana called the Toastmasters.
The Toastmasters.
Toastmasters.
Oh, okay.
I'm a co-founder of the Toastmasters.
Wow.
Which is doing very well. There's a club named after me. Joe Lartey Toastmasters Club. You know, and they're training people, professionals, to speak in public, and they're doing very well. But right now we have about 30 clubs in the whole country. So I'm still following my or preference for public speaking.
Public speaking. As a patron of swag, what are some of the reforms that we should look into?
I think when we look at swag, the Secretariat of Swag, which should be the driving force, the engine, should be reorganized and revitalized.
Okay.
Reorganized, revitalized to perform better. There should be close relationship between the patrons and the Secretariat.
Okay.
So that the patrons are supposed to encourage activities at the secretarial level. So there's need for a whole lot of reorganization and revitalization of SWAT. You know, it shouldn't only be annual banquets, you know, now and then. There should be a lot more should happen.
You just celebrated your 52nd birthday.
My
Swag just celebrated their 52nd birthday.
52nd, yeah. I think they gave me an award.
Award, okay.
Ghanaians love sports. And we have a lot of talented people in sport. But the organization of the whole business hasn't been very successful. The present Minister of Sports, I don't know him. The present head of GFA, I don't know him. They have a lot of work to do. Unfortunately, with the pandemic around,
okay.
Work is going very slowly. But I hope whenever the pandemic dries up, work should be done to reorganize the whole business of sport in Ghana, the whole length and breadth of it, so that those who have talent can come up. You know, there was a time professionals were not allowed to take part in the Olympic Games. Do you know that?
No.
You don't. There was a time only professionals, only amateurs did Olympic Games. Gradually now, professionals participate in the Olympic Games. The Olympic Games is the highest point of sporting in the whole world. And there are professionals there too. So while we are training at the amateur level, we should also be training for professionals. So in due course, we have our men taking part in the professional aspect of the Olympic Games. It will not be very easy, but it can be done.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Okay.
We should be aiming at higher levels of sports participation in the Olympic Games. This period's Olympic Games, has been destroyed or more, by the pandemic, and it's been postponed. I hope they will stick to it.
Okay. Now, your friend, I would say His Excellency Nado Dankwa Akufo-Addo is the president of Ghana now.
Yeah.
Do you have any message for him?
Well, I think the job on his hands today is very difficult, especially with this pandemic. And I must say I very much appreciate what he has done with the pandemic and with the general things that he has done so far. And I hope and pray that he gets another 4 years to be able to complete the job that he has started. Because from the way we do our politics, it looks like some of the things he has started now will be thwarted when the opposition gets into power.
Okay.
And that will be a very sad thing.
Okay.
So I think he needs a lot of time to finish or to bring his projects to a certain level where they cannot be destroyed,
Okay.
especially in education, in agriculture. He's done a lot of work in agriculture. And I think with the financial system of the country, banking, he's been blamed a lot for doing what he did with the banks. But I think that was the right thing to be done. Otherwise, the whole financial system was grinding to a halt. I don't know much of banking, but you know. See, the whole system was on their way to a halt, and they've saved it. So I very sincerely wish that he gets another 4 years.
Okay.
So that, not that for 4 years to make more money or to earn a lot more salary, but 4 years to complete what he has started, or to bring the whole thing to a stage where it cannot be destroyed by an incoming government. I wish him every good thing that he will wish himself. That's what I say.
Thank you, Joe Lartey.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm speaking as an old man.
As an old man. Thank you.
Beyond the pitch, we watch and appreciate the game differently. We capture the emotions and the memories. We tell you the history of your favorite clubs. This is our culture and our story. This is football, and it's Beyond the Pitch. Follow us on all our social media handles. Facebook, Beyond the Pitch. Twitter, Beyond the _pitch. Instagram, Beyond _the _pitch. YouTube, Beyond the Pitch. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and never miss another episode. That will be all for today. Join us next time for your favorite football show. This has been Beyond the Pitch.